And as the time is going on, it's like you start teaching differently. Yes, for sure. You start thinking differently. You start looking at things differently. And now you're now at this point where you're not quite sure which way to go. I'm there. I think I might have gone over the other side a little bit. But as I said, I really do apply a lot of it to the Pilates and stuff. It's been awesome. I've loved it. But I trained with Joe for like over 5 years because I was a little bit of a mess myself. But but do you know what? Honestly, and I know it sounds corny, but I actually, when I first hooked back up with Joe, I didn't know she was a trainer. I didn't know she was with Faster. I contacted Amy Heals because I knew Amy from when I was the coordinator there. And she put me on to Joe because she'd just had twins. And I've not looked back. It's been a journey, but I was always in pain and yeah, no, honestly, it's been amazing. I honestly, it has changed my life, and I know it sounds corny, but it is so true. And it's changed my bank balance.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of money.
That's really good.
Honestly, and that is totally from the heart. That is so true.
Bank balance which way, Karen?
Sorry?
Bank balance which way?
I've saved more money because I used to go to a lot of people, like homeopaths. I've been to osteopaths, lots of money on osteopaths. And also, the worst thing was the last osteopath was my ex. And it was like, oh honestly, like this is the big reveal. Finally. Because, I'm not knocking them. They were all good. They all did their thing, but nobody actually, I was always going to them. And yes, escaping from my ex was the best thing. That's some healing session, isn't it? But yeah, I've got more money now, Eve. Got lots more money. But now I pay it to Joe. I enjoy it.
That's to a good cause.
I could sense that's going, but in the same light, I think because of Faster, we've all been able to have the confidence to put our prices up because we know what we're worth. I was having this chat with someone the other day, to know that there aren't any other trainers out there that spend the hours that we do debating on which way the calcaneus tilts or looking at the research, and that is a big thing. And it doesn't matter whether you're going, oh, well, I don't look at the calcaneus. That's fine. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that like we're getting on a call and we're going to talk about thoracic extension and flexion. And there aren't people looking at the research in this way. Case example, when I did put that thread on UKPT, everybody comes back with their opinion of what we should do with a client, not what does the research say. And I think, Karen, you and I worked out, I think it was like £1.48 a week or something for FTE. And, that's because I've been back every year for the last 8 years. And it just keeps growing, changing, developing and pushing. I will be honest with you, every single one of those lives, I come back with that same feeling that you're talking about, Karen, where you go, oh, what have I been doing with my clients? And then have to try and work out the new changes. And generally you turn up first thing on a Monday morning as well to be trained by me, Karen, when we've just been giving all the secrets away. So yeah, it's interesting, and it's great to hear what you guys are getting from it. And what I want to continue to do as we go through the next time round is to continue to push and challenge each of you where you are currently. And that's what I like about this course. So we can have people come on that, have just done their level 2, level 3. Or we can have people that have been in the industry for years and yet everybody is able to challenge themselves to that next step. You know, as Karen said, there are times when you think, oh, like, what am I doing? Or this is tough. Or, you know, if you've never looked at a research paper before, or, you know, you've never looked at biomechanics to the level that we go into with the HMAC. Obviously, when it comes to the biomechanics and the HMAC, we all want a little pill that we can just swallow, and then we know it and we can see it. But it just takes work. It takes keep going back to it, keep questioning it, keep looking at it. And that HMAC is, you know, it's a secret weapon, because it's a spreadsheet that helps you slice what you're seeing with movement. And even if at first you think, oh, I'm not sure, you know, when I'm going to use this, what I'm going to use it for, the more you use it, the more you see how useful it is. I think that was a question that you were asking me, wasn't it, Eve? You know, about the HMAC. I think it was you. But going back to that fact that because it's training your eye to see movement, you're starting to see what you would expect, or it highlights that you're not seeing something. So, you know, if that might be a squat and you were expecting it to be quite even, and you see someone going into the right hip, you're already knowing what's happening, and you're already knowing that they're not going to be feeling the other side as much as they are on the one side, because you can see the way that bones move. And then you're getting them to feedback what their best movement is, and before you know it, you already know, as they go into that squat, what number they're going to rate it out of 10. You know if they've hit glute or not, because you can see the bones move. It might be that, I know, they're going like this, and you see, oh yeah, I can see that by doing this movement, they're bailing out of a hip, but you're ahead of it because you're starting to see it. It doesn't mean that with every single client you're there going, hang on a minute, I just need to write my HMAC down as you do that movement. It might be that some of your clients, you know, they're doing a sport that you've never looked at before, or they're experiencing pain, and you video that, and then you go away in your own time and you look at that video, and you go through predicting where those bones are going, how they're moving, how the joints are feeling, what muscles are reacting. And that's how you start to keep practicing and honing in those skills to it. So I know that it's something that on FTE we're constantly working on, because it's not something that, you know, is easy to just quickly fire off. It takes practice, and it takes work. But having all those things, sorry, go for it.
Will it come? I mean, because I look at clients, and that I took a video of a client the other day, and I could see there was something going on with her ankle, and, you know, there's definitely something, but I would then get a block. I think, right, so what actually is happening with her, and what do I do about it? And then I'm, you know, maybe that's where I need to just keep going back and looking at the HMAC, but I feel like I'm hitting a brick wall with it sometimes.
With the HMAC?
Or with some
people's
movement. Yeah, knowing what to do with it and seeing it, and recognising that maybe they're moving like that because of that, but not quite sure then what to do.
Yeah,
rectify it or not rectify it, or just leave it, or
and they're really good questions, Teresa, and that is where if you like, your price as a trainer goes up, because you're asking those questions. And that's the difference. And like the old faster trainer in me would have been going, oh well, like, you know, I saw this in the foot and ankle, so therefore it must be this and that, but it might not be. So, you know, it might be, but it might not be. And that's really important, because that's a big part of it. But the HMAC allows us to see the sequencing that we need to get a skill. So if we're not seeing dorsiflexion as someone squatting, we're going to be seeing a foot spin out because they're not getting that dorsiflexion. So that's when we start to go, oh, that's okay, I can see that's not happening. So now I can start to think, rather than do I fix, they might not be in pain, so why are we fixing? But there we're going, well, that's interesting that they've chosen that route. So it's really just goes back to, it's interesting that my mum drives from the Midlands to my house and always goes via Battersea. I wouldn't go via Battersea, but she's really skillful at going via Battersea. But I want to make her skillful coming through Richmond or coming through Kew Bridge. And
See,
that,
I don't know whether or not I'd even recognise right at that beginning point where you said, because I can't even remember what you said now, because the ankle did something that she's not or she rotates out. Is that what you said? You
spins out, yeah.
Yeah, because of her ankle's not dorsiflexed.
It might be, yeah, that she's not getting that range.
I don't even equate that to that at the moment. I'm thinking, right, I can see her ankle doing something, but I don't know what, and I don't know why. But you're able to say, right, because her ankle's doing that, it's because of that.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, yeah, if the
Can I butt in for a second? Sorry, can I just, Teresa, I wouldn't worry about it. I can't recognise it either. And I know that Joe's got lots more experience than us and is used to spotting it. And what Joe has done is start to encourage us to look at these things, and then we can start trying to work out what's going on. And if in doubt, take a video and ask Joe.
Yeah.
So I would chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stress about it, is what I'm saying. But the fact that we're all now aware, we are a huge step ahead of thousands of other trainers who aren't aware. Carry on, Joe.
Exactly what you've said.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
And the fact that you notice it, I mean, you just wouldn't have done before you started this course.
No, that's right.
You know, and in some ways you may well have noticed it because you've been working with people for a long time, Teresa, and you just may not have put a label to it. Do you know? And you know, the thing is that I might have in the past gone, oh, that foot's spinning out, therefore they're not getting dorsiflexion. Whereas might be now that I'm thinking they like the look of my side table, or if they're on Zoom, they're looking at their kid or something else, because it could just be that they've chosen to go via Battersea. And so my point is, before I start having a go at mum saying she's got to go through Richmond, you know, maybe I just need to block the road to Battersea for a while and see whether she can go the other direction. And so it's more about, if we see the movement that we do expect, and you do see it, like if you're got a client to squat and their foot doesn't collapse into the floor, you'll start to see something going on, like the hips not folding or something like that. And you go, that's interesting. Wasn't expecting their pelvis to come and hit me in the face there as they went down, you know, and you'll start to see that. And so what we're doing is we're saying, right, okay, well, let's look at that sequencing. We know that that's happening, you know, and the HMAC just gives you that point where you can go, right, for a squat, I need the feet to go, I need the hip to go, I need to see those things. If it's a rapid change of direction, I need to see that rib cage come away from the pelvis. But if you can't see it at first, you just keep watching those movements and you keep going through it. And you'll start to get more and more specific in what you're able to see and mark down. You know, and so writing those down, I found it was quite interesting to go back to those modules on the HMAC and, you know, take a movement like a squat or a skater or something like that and go through what you think you see moving. And then don't worry about it, but get the piece of paper and put it in a drawer. And then a few days later, go back and do it again and see if you get the same thing. And if there is a discrepancy of something happening, then within a group of people, there might be a discrepancy, because you might just be seeing that little bit different or a slightly different time. But you'll start to see the areas that, you know, you find it easy to see, but also the areas that you find it more tricky, perhaps, to see, if that makes sense. So, you know, but they are, you know, and that's really why John set up the HMAC course on its own, to have 12 weeks of going through each joint, so that you can go into that in depth and sort of take your time through it, learn more, then come back to it. You know, in the past, I think a lot of times the foot's been overcomplicated, where at the end of the day, as long as it goes, it accepts the floor, okay, and flattens in, or when you come away, it goes whoop. That's, if you get that into your head, you can start to see how that, you know, will influence the squat and your movements. So kind of just taking it back and then gradually just keep adding back onto it. But the cool thing is that this is about looking for what you can see, but not judging it. So not going, oh, well, you know, because like it could be structural, which means we'll never be able to change it in the foot, but it might not be, it might be skill. And so that's where we're starting to go, well, I can use all of the skill development, all the motor learning to create tasks and challenges, compelling reasons to move that make someone complete that task in a way that is successful to the sequencing that you're expecting, if that makes sense. Does that make sense, Teresa? Yeah.
Defo, yeah.
Can you say something, Jo?
Yeah.
You really, Teresa, because I know you do Pilates as well. It's the mat work. I just find that with Pilates as well, I can see what you mean. You're seeing stuff and you're thinking what to do with it, because the whole training is like, oh, her foot's gone like that when it should be like this, and you keep asking for it to be put back in, and you're constantly, it is always about like correcting the whole time. But what I learn is, you know, really what Jo is saying, he might be doing that, but like sometimes you can ask for something if that's what you want, and then just step back, and sometimes it just changes on its own, if you know what I mean. So like if I put someone in leg springs and when they push out they're sort of all over, I can say, well, you know, bring it back to the center, and then it's more they do it, it just starts to change anyway.
Yeah, right.
And I just step back more and take multiple viewpoints, and I just take it on board now. Whereas before, and this is a lot of teachers where we're trained, as soon as someone does something, you're like you like to correct it, and actually you haven't even give that person an opportunity to explore it or experience it. And that's when things like the variables come in, because if you really want that hip down on the floor, you can ask for it, of course you can. In my opinion, you can ask for it, but you can't keep going and then put your hand on it and put your foot on it and whatever you want. You can use the variables to, but I think it's to do with Pilates training as well, makes us worse. So I've had to go on that journey.
Question everything. I mean, that's probably my personality as well.
Yeah, no, you know, that's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, I want to. I don't know. I'm very finicky about, and that does definitely come from the Pilates basis. You know, from that background where I'm just always like really finicky about where the movement's coming from and how you're doing it, and if I don't know how to or why that's happening, then I've got to try and question it even more. Maybe I don't. Maybe
I do know what you mean. You know, when I started, they were putting people in positions, getting them in positions, and then that they weren't used to being in, and then getting them to move. Not even used to being in that position, and we're making them be in that position. I think you're open to injury when you do that. You know, lay down, center yourself. You know, if their foot's hanging over, could you just bring it in? But years ago, I'd be in there, moving it and doing it. That's what
I think as well, like on a sort of smaller scale but similar theory, is that if you don't run for ages, that first run you just feel weird and this doesn't feel right, and once you go for like 2 more, 3 more, you kind of get your stride back and start to feel a bit more natural. And it's exactly the same if you have what's her name? Deirdre, do we call her? Come along and you try and get her to do a squat. Well, she's not really probably practiced a proper squat other than sitting down and getting up. So it's bound to take her 3 sessions before she starts making it more comfortable for herself by doing it correctly. And it's not just going to come. So that's why you don't need to, although you might see that there's something that's not quite right, providing you keep on getting that person to do different variables of that movement, it will come. And I've seen that. So I mean, wow, I've seen that happen with a few people.
Body pump and stuff like that, which we've all done, Joe. It's all has to be so, and I was always so like precise with it. So coming from.
I mean, a couple of things I just wanted to go back to, which were really important, which was really good, James, you mentioning, you know, correct or right. And that's where we have to be careful, because there's a lot of assumptions of what is correct and right. And that's where we need to go back to looking at the research, and we need to think about whether it's a problem to the person and what their goal is. So if they're experiencing pain, then that's like, my mum isn't enjoying the journey to mine going via Battersea. So I then want to find a new route that doesn't cause her that stress. Okay. But if she enjoys her route to mine through Battersea, well, then why am I correcting it? So all I'm really doing is saying I want her to have more options available to her should she decide that she wants to use them. Now, if she then decides, do you know what? I prefer to go over Wandsworth Bridge. Great. She's now decided that's what she wants to do. But I haven't inflicted what I think is the correct or right route to get to my house, because really it doesn't matter. And what we're aiming for is that level of unconscious learning. And again, that's coming back to the research, because we used to believe that if you tell someone what to do, it teaches them how to do it quicker, because ultimately our job is to get a client and get them to achieve their goals, whether that's 12 weeks or whatever. That's what we want, is a result. And so when we're looking at doing that, we need to make sure, hi, Anne-Marie, we need to make sure that we're, you know, giving them the right things to be able to do that. But it might not be that we need to correct anything. All we're really doing is saying we want to give them the opportunity to unconsciously learn. And that means that's when I come back to our alien or our Deirdre that maybe has never squatted before, but she might be really awesome at squatting onto her right butt cheek, which is great when she goes to a party. She can get on that right butt cheek, but it might mean that one day she has to get onto the left. So again, we want to make sure that she has that ability, and then she can choose when she wants to. But one thing we do know about our clients, you might think that you've corrected their foot or their shoulder or their position or whatever it is. But when they're on their own, they choose the skill that they prefer. So my mum is still going to get to my house via Battersea, regardless of what I do with her, because that's the route she likes. But our job is to make sure that she can go in as many different routes as possible, because from the research, we know that in order to prevent an injury, we need to be able to move in as many different ways, in as many different environments, as many different speeds as possible, which means we need to have that experience. So all we're doing is let's go here, let's go there, let's go here, let's go there. What they might do themselves is unconsciously discover that actually that's where my mum goes, actually it's better if I go the M40 and come out of the M4. But she's discovered that herself, and now that becomes her preferred route. And that's where what we want is the sequencing to be in the right order. But it doesn't matter how somebody gets there as long as they get there. So that's where it kind of, your route on skill development can be all over the place. It can be as many different ways as possible. When they first come in, that's when you might go body pump on it, and you might be really specific in your coaching cues. But now with the research on coaching, we know that we need to zip it as soon as we possibly can. So the old me that would have gone hands-on and turned people's fib in to try and get eversion at the foot and ankle, then to do that, I would have gone in and I would have been all over the place. But now I can just say, look over your shoulder, because in order to look over the shoulder, I know the foot has to collapse. It has to go, which is going to get the sequencing of what I want. But because they've done it themselves, they've gone through that unconscious learning. So always thinking about it like a child that's learning to walk. If they have a compelling reason to get from A to B, which is either food, mum, or to get away from a spider, whatever it is, the compelling reason to move, then they're going to go and they're going to trip, they're going to wobble, they're going to do it and fall and rectify themselves. But it's that unconscious learning that helps reinforce that skill in a positive manner. So that's what we're doing. And that's why if we can make it play, if we can make those variables fun, then our clients are going to become more efficient in lots of different ways. And then they get to improve where they feel good in a movement. And that's really what we want constantly. It doesn't mean that you can't go towards those rules. So in Pilates, if you've got a structure, or, you know, if you're Olympic lifting, then there is a rule that if the lift doesn't look a certain way, it's not counted. And so then that's when, as trainers and coaches, we need to be really good at making sure that somebody's skills are good enough to be able to perform that movement in performance with those rules. You know, like if a footballer, they've got to be able to kick the ball. Okay, it's no good that they start just I was going to say run and carry it. They can do that. So you know what I mean? You've got to match the task. So I'll just welcome our other guys. So we've talked for half an hour and we haven't gone over the research. So if anybody does want to go over the thoracic research with me, then we can. But if you haven't already, it's a really good thing just to go and have a look at the research that went in on the thread, some of the ones from Kelly, John, and think about what you can get from it. Now, some of it you'd be going, oh, what is that? I don't get that. So just go through, you know, look at the conclusion, look at the abstract. But the things you want to be thinking about is how many are on the study. We had a lot of dead people on there, you know, and pigs. So they're going to be your red flags of how good this research is. And then it's reading all of it, so you've got that balance. But the reason I wanted you to do it was because then when somebody asks you how you test the thoracic flexion and extension, and if they say, well, you do this movement, or you sit them still on a chair and then you move their head to that, well, that didn't come up in any of those research papers on how they actually tested for flexion and extension. So now you have a researched approach to how you test for the range of motion in that thoracic. So it kind of gives you those skills to start questioning. And Karen and I had this conversation about where you start to research. And the first thing that I did, welcome to the three of you that have just joined, and I will be quiet about the research, but you'll get there as well. To start thinking about, it might be going to the NHS website and looking at, so for Eve, you're training a client with Parkinson's. So that's the reason I sent you the NHS link, because on there, you start to read it and then they'll have references. And then from that point, it might spark a question as well, you know, because you want to know what you can't do basically with Parkinson's, and then you might want to be looking at different neurological movements, and you're going to be looking at confidence and mood and self-efficacy, because all of those things are going to be influential. But that might lead you with a different question, and then you can go to PubMed. So it becomes like a spider's web. But to start with, it might be that you go to a physio's blog, and there they might reference some papers, and then you can go and have a look at the papers. And didn't you looked at one? Didn't you get your husband to help you out with that?
Yes, it was the one where they were looking at people on the CT scanner, and they were putting them into sort of certain positions. Yeah. So it was quite interesting, but obviously not so relevant for PTs, I suppose, because there was a limit to how much sort of flexion or extension that the person could get into in a fixed position on a CT scanner.
Yeah, but also it shows us that then why are we testing it? If it's that difficult, then, and that's when it can be used. So that is good that, you know, you found that, because then we start to go, oh, well, actually, you know, what we really want to do is create a compelling reason to move, and we want to look at shoulders, and, you know, and making the assessment comes back then down to, when you're with the motor skill course, we look at how we make the assessment relevant to the client. So it might not be relevant to put them on a chair and do a Thomas test, or, you know, lying them down on a physio bench and then pressurizing a point, because that's not relevant to what their goals are. It's not relevant to the movements they want to achieve. And so, you know, going through that process is really useful. Okay, so those of you that have just joined, Anne-Marie, that we might answer some of your questions as well about coming on and if it's the right time for you. Obviously, just coming in and going, oh my God, they're all talking about research. You might not be thinking that at all, but if you are, don't worry about that, because the intention is this course meets you where you are at currently. And so I want everybody to feel that they are welcome to come back as many times as they like. And I'm always going to be pushing you to get the most from each and every task. The first time you do it, I suggest you go through the course and just let it mull over. And if you want to dive in and do a task, you do it. If you want to sit back and watch everybody else do their task, then do that. And then when you're ready, you'll come back to it. I think, Anne, you did amazingly jumping in about, was it 2 or 3 weeks after we'd started, and you bang in there with those tasks. You did really, really well. But I want everybody to know that you don't have to do all the tasks straight away. And the first time you go through it, you know, we start off, so it doesn't matter if you've just come out of your level 3 or you're just waiting for that to come through. We start off at that point where we look at those stolen programs, which I'm really excited to get back to doing again. And this time I know that those that have already been through it will be looking at those stolen programs in a different way. And that will challenge all of us. We've got Jeremy, welcome along today, Jeremy, on next time as well, who's a tennis coach. So I'm going to be really enjoying looking at how we look at that rapid change of direction and how important sequencing is. And Jeremy, this is where you may not talk about movement in the same way. Perhaps this goes back to Teresa's question beforehand, but that doesn't matter, because you will see, and I know that you'll have that eye for looking at the sequence of a backswing, your serve, and all of those things, and you'll be knowing what you're expecting, because you'll know where that ball is going to go before someone's even hit it, I'm sure. And being able to bring that into this course will mean that everyone else on this course sees it and hears it in a different way. Last time we had Anne, who was enjoys your running and Pilates, and so I want you to keep thinking about how this is relevant to you, how this is relevant to your clients. All our clients are unique. Everything you get on here is going to take you through looking at movement, seeing the programs that people make really popular, thinking about why those programs are so popular, what it is about them, how they hit the energy systems, how they make somebody feel. Then we go into looking at our stimulus. So we're looking at the brain, and we're looking at how we can change the action that we take. And the reason that's so important is because if someone's experiencing the feeling of fatigue or a feeling of pain, these are the things that sit in their way of getting their goals. Because basically our job's easy, if you didn't realize. I'm joking there, because all we have to do is take our client and they only want two things: weight loss or to get bigger, right? Well, that's what the industry would tell us, but that's not quite the case. But they come in, and this course will help you. One of the biggest things that it does is to help us keep working on our communication skills, finding out what it is somebody really, really wants, not necessarily what they say. And that isn't because they're coming in lying to you. It's because a lot of the time we don't know what we want ourselves. We only know the story that we tell ourselves. So as they're telling you what they want, it might be that while you're asking them and talking to them, they have a self-discovery themselves. So they might have thought they were coming to you for weight loss, to then discover that actually they wanted to be around for their children and to be healthy and not ill or something like that, that maybe they've been through childhood, and they didn't even know that that was connected to it. And the why so is the process that we teach. By the end of this course, whether you know your HMAC or you're using research, you will have a process. And that process is what you'll come back to each and every single time you work with a client. First of all, are you the person that can help? And I think this is the biggest thing, because we're defined what we say no to, not necessarily what we say yes to. So having the ability to say, you know what, you need to go and see a dietitian. You need to go and see a sports dietitian in order to be able to get the best out of your running. Or you may need to go and see a doctor or an endocrinologist. And then from that point, you're freed up to do your job really well, which is be their movement coach and get their best fitness results. And it's from that point that we then go, right, now we establish what their goal is. Let's go and look at the research that's relevant to them. And all of the time, we're then thinking about how we supply a session for our client that delivers above and beyond their expectation, but makes them feel the way they want to feel in the session and afterwards. And I know that those of you that have already been through those 12 weeks, then, what's that? Leave meeting? No, it's not me. Sorry, new computer. It's very exciting. So, and I know now that, you know, we're already thinking about those things and we're putting it together in story. I've seen some really great things that you guys are posting. Eve, I loved your cooking class and things like that, bringing that in, but how we make sure that we're not just doing the same generic exercise for every single person, that we're thinking about their journey, their story, and ultimately helping them over their hurdles, whatever those hurdles may be. I wish that Amy had been on, because I know she had questions about her last assignment. So for those of you that haven't been through it yet, we start off with stealing programs. I'm not going to be ashamed of that. It's a great process. So you can already start to think about that and think about what's the stolen program you're going to bring, and make it be the program that moves you. You don't have to love it. You can love it, or you can hate it. I really don't mind, but I want you to like go, yeah, you know, and then by the end of it, your last assignment is to build a program, and it looks very, very different. And the ones that are already coming through on their task are awesome. So I had a message from Amy saying, well, these are the ones that I would make me feel happy, excited, nervous, petrified. I'm like, I'm loving the words that she's using to describe movement, and that it has such a different, powerful feel to it. But part of that is getting to know your client so well that you know which exercise pops into which area, which one. We can't guarantee the way somebody will feel, because if I put, well, you know, if I put a little kitten on here, some of you might feel giddy, you might feel warm in your stomach, and some of you might be wanting to scratch your eyes out. So can't guarantee how you'll feel, but I need to know that about my client. I need to know as much as possible so that we can help change that. So I'm going to now be quiet, and I'm going to let you guys chat. And if you've got any questions, or if you've got anything you want to pass on to Anne and Anne-Marie and Jeremy as well. The one final thing is, at the end of 12 weeks, you'll want to do it again. And it's a group, not a course. Okay, a course is something that we say, thank you very much, you were amazing, bye. That's not what this is about. I want you to be able to chat with me anytime you like. I want you to be on activities. I want you to get involved, and I want you to challenge each other. And that's how we continue to learn and be supportive. And then I promise to be quiet. Anne-Marie, I'm going to open that up to you. Does that answer your questions of whether you're ready to jump in?
I think so. As I said on the WhatsApp yesterday, I'm just sort of on the cusp of finishing level 3 in a very protracted and drawn out way, partly due to me and partly due to lockdown. So yeah, definitely wanting to not kind of stop there and wanting to do something straight away in terms of CPD, and you know, it's just trying to understand the sort of capacity to do that as well, you know, because I'm still in a sort of corporate job, and you know, it's just, I just need to think, just thinking about the sort of the time required as well in terms of assignments and things like that.
I think I could let somebody else answer this.
I'll have a go.
I don't. Yeah, you go for it, Teresa. Yeah.
Hi, Anne-Marie.
Hiya.
I was in a very similar situation to you, not in a corporate job or anything, but had loads. We were just going through a house refurbishment, and when I was talking to Jo right at the beginning, I was like, oh, I really want to do it, but I'm not too sure, and maybe I'll do it next time. And you know, I was under the impression that I could just buy the course and then might bail out halfway through, and you know, not really do it. And I had these mixed emotions about it. But having gone through it, I'm so pleased I have, and I'm going to do it again next time because I've been in the industry for donkey's years, and completely opened my eyes to everything. So I'm really grateful to you, Jo, for sharing all your knowledge with us, and all everybody on the course is really really helpful, and it's just brilliant. Yeah, make your own mind up, but that's definitely
yeah. Just to add to that, so sorry, are we getting commission for this, Jo?
Yeah.
when we can go out again, going out for beer.
Are you looking to start training people straight away?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I finished my level 2 and level 3, and I came straight onto this course similarly because I wanted to continue learning, and I did about 3 months personal training off the back of getting my level 3 before starting this course, and the difference in where I'm at now compared to those 3 months is no comparison.
Okay.
It's just been really, really, really sensational learning curve, quick and easy to understand, but it will just transform you as a personal trainer straight away. And if I was you, well, just a character from Teresa, I wouldn't even hesitate in starting right away. Honestly, it's no questions.
I don't need to say anything
now.
now.
No questions. I was a bit of a nervous wreck for those first 2 months, and now
I have to say that's
feel
how
like
I feel coming out of level 3. So I kind of feel I need something else.
Do it.
I was like Teresa, that I was really short of time and I wasn't sure whether it was the right time, but the fact that you can do it again and again and again and again, I thought, well, I may as well do what I can, and I can go back and do it again. And it's really interesting how almost every week is kind of almost a new topic, but when you get to the end, it all ties together and you go, oh, okay, now that's where we are. And there's so many useful tools along the way and different ways of looking at things and approaching things and doing things with your clients. And it takes away a lot of the fear of doing things with people as well for me, especially because I teach a lot of older people and people with conditions and things. And I don't treat them as older people or people with conditions anymore. I kind of did a bit, but not always a lot. But now they just get on with it.
Thank you.
Can I say, Laurie, as well? I've done it a few times. I didn't really do it this time, but I have done it a lot of times before. But the first time I did it, I didn't really do the tasks.
Okay.
But that is quite a good thing, because you don't have to put yourself under any more pressure. You might do 1 or 2 of them, but when you then go back round again, because you know it's like watching a movie, because you don't hear all those one-liners. Then it makes sense. But I think in life there's never a good time. So if you really want to do it, and I think, as James said, it gives you don't, just because you've done your level 3, it doesn't always give you that confidence, but it will start to give you confidence to start questioning and not be that just generic trainer. I mean, it's enlightening. It really is. And I'm not on commission. Bloody could be, but I'm not. But honestly, going through it each week, and obviously the other group is, it's very challenging trying to be doing things on your own. You need that community. It can be a lonely job, even though you've got nice clients. It's just not the same as
Can I like to put my hand up. I did my level 3 like 3 years ago, and it was a 4-week course. So I'm worried that I won't understand what you're talking about. No, I mean, like, will I have enough like a level of knowledge on the anatomy? Like, I did quite well on anatomy and I enjoyed it, and because I don't have that much experience, I'm worried that I won't. I know that I'll pick. I know that I'll really enjoy it. I know that it was brilliant, but that's just one of my fears. I don't know what.
Yeah,
I mean, that's sorry.
You go for it, James. If you want.
No, it's all right.
Can I say something? I'm so used to seeing you on female personal trainers. I thought you'd done it already, Anna.
I just keep turning up and just yeah, no, well, I like a bit like Teresa said, like we're currently about to move house, and I'm thinking, oh, should I wait? Like I waited, like when I joined, I can't remember when I started coming to female personal trainers, and I was like, oh no, I definitely can't do it now. And then I think the next one I was like, no, I can't do it now either. And now I'm like, oh, should I wait until? And I'm like, well, I think there is never a good time. So
I don't know whether you've actually, sorry, I'm not being nosy, but if you've actually paid for it, then just start it, because just do what you can, because it's an hour, like you say. I actually, so I was a bit nervous at the start. I didn't really do many of the tasks, and then as it went on and started to enjoy it more, it all became a lot more relevant. I don't want to do it any bad service, but like it's not superly complex. It doesn't take a lot of time away from the hour that we have a week if you don't want it to. And you know, at the start I wasn't doing a lot of the exercises, so I committed an hour a week. Do I feel like I've learned any less from not doing those things? Absolutely not. Because as you go through it, it just all falls into place as it goes. And even if you haven't really done the tasks, like I know this time I'm probably going to make more of an effort to do the tasks, like we've already said. But you know, it just yeah, if you already signed up, just get stuck in.
Whatever works for you at the time.
Yeah, and if you don't have the time, well, you don't have the time for it. But I'm pretty certain that I would have been pretty gutted if I'd missed a week. Having done like a couple of weeks, because it's just so good, and you realise how valuable it will be.
And you can pick and choose the bits that seem relevant, you know. So first time round there were things that I felt were really relevant to me, and second time round some other things became more relevant to me, maybe because I just couldn't take them all in first time round, and there's only so much that you can take in and start to use. And then second time round, you know, the bits that went straight over your head or didn't go in and stay there, and even the bits you thought had gone in and stayed there might have disappeared. So each time, I haven't done it twice, I haven't done it as many times as Karen, but I'm looking forward to it, to doing so. You take the bits that you relate to and that you feel that you can use, and use those, and then keep building on it. And I now have to go to start a class, so I'm sorry, I'm going to go, folks.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have some
Thank you.
Meeting.
Thanks, Eve.
Okay, cheers.
Thanks.
Yeah, hopefully see you all again soon. I have to dash.
You've got to go.
Sorry, but
no worries.
I've got some bits to do.
James, coming along.
See you later.
Yeah, see you later.
Thanks, James.
Bye.
What I was going to say, yeah. So I think the other thing is that I would say, and Anna, is that your clients and the people you work with will get a better service through it. Not only will you feel more confident in what you deliver, they will get better training. And when I say better training, I mean that I know that your thought process that you go into it will be different. And I know that then what you offer, you will be able to be the one that is their hero, that they want to train with, that they're not training with you because you've given them their results. They're training with you because of the way you make them feel, and that they want you on their team and nobody else. And so it's really important to me that on your first time through the course, you are met where you currently are. And if that means that some of the anatomy is difficult for you, then I help you out with that. You know, if the energy systems are something that you've not done before, then we go through that. You know, I can't teach you all 600 and whatever bones there are in the body and all of the different muscles, because like I'd have to go and prep that myself, you know. However, what I can do is give you the tools to make that important to you. And for me, I was the person that learnt my anatomy for the test and then forgot it 2 minutes later, you know, like, and it wasn't until I realized how important it was to create that compelling reason to move, and how by seeing that movement, I needed to know how the muscles crossed around the joint. Now, I don't really care whether you know the insertion or the origin, wouldn't really matter. One's A, one's B, it could be dog, cat, doesn't really matter. But it's where it crosses around that joint, so we can work out what lengthens, because this will tell you and help you see bones move, joints feel, and muscles react. And so this is a different concept to your level 2, level 3. And all the times that you've written in level 2, level 3, how many sets and reps you've got to have, guess what? Muscles can't count. So they don't know. They don't know if you hit the right amount of reps or not, regardless of whether your AIQ level said, no, you didn't put that in the right order, because they don't know. What they're really saying is, how do you make your client feel? Do you make them feel the way they need to feel in order to get an adaptation? And then it just becomes about putting a story together and delivering that story in a way that excites that person to move and want to come back.
Jo, sorry, Joe, I'm going to have to drop off, but I will come back. I'm sold.
Lovely. Well, I mean, somebody else was asking me whether I was going to do another one of these talks, so as in to ask questions. I might do that on Friday, but obviously I don't want to waste anybody's time and that sort of thing, because I know your time's precious. But I'll let you go now, and you can always reach out to me.
2:30 each Wednesday.
It's 2 o'clock actually. Well, I had put on that it was 2, mainly because we have a few people that do the school run.
Yeah.
And so if we make it 2 o'clock, it means that people can get to the school run.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Does that work with you, Jeremy? Well,
yeah, that's all good. That probably works better for me.
Perfect.
That's when the motor skills course weekly meet is.
Yes, the call will be. So what will happen is thanks very much. Once you're signed up, you get access to all the material, so you can start to see it now. There's videos there, there's workbooks. And then I recommend, if you can, the first week, I mean, there's a video that you can watch, but it's not, you know, in depth. Or thanks, Anne, thanks so much. But from that moment on, you watch the video, and then we get on a call and you Q&A. So I'm asking you questions, and that way it's brilliant, because it means that, you know, you can make it specific about you. You can say, well, you know, I don't know what you meant by this or that, or if I've got a client, how does that relate to this client? So that it's not just right, you've got to do this, you know, test or whatever. You're actually bringing it back to you. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Some of the things we'll be updating some of the quizzes, mainly because I'm also trying to get some different qualifications put to it as well. But that will just be, you know, what it's like. You've got to add stuff to it. So so there's little quizzes and the task. But as I said, the first time through, have a go at the task, because it really doesn't matter if you get them wrong, because this is one thing that you will get from this course, is that it's all skill development. So if we wobble, and if we have moments where it doesn't look like what is deemed the perfect movement, good, because that means you had more opportunity to learn. So, and that's what I want. You know, I want everybody to feel like they're successful, but I want everybody stretching themselves to that point where they're learning.
Okay.
So I
feel too stressful.
So it just means like that, you know, when Karen comes back, I will demand more from her, you know, because then I will ask her more tricky questions because she needs to be pushed, and, you know, and that sort of thing. But and I just realized that's recording, so she'll hear that back. I'm going to push you, Karen.
Yeah, no. Well, the fact that you can redo it as many times as you like is just, you know, I've never done a course like that before.
No,
as you say, normally it is just, here we are. You got this time. Pass it. See you later.